Hey gang, this is Mr. Schmidt talking to you October 5th about the second part of our biomes lecture. We also had a big assignment around the eco columns, and I'm going to make a separate video about our eco column question and answer session. So first, let's get on with the biomes lecture. Okay, so we've already talked about deserts, grasslands, and freshwater biomes. Now I want to talk about some of the other ones as well. Depending on the website and the scientists, they can sort biomes in up to 20 different groups. I don't want to go into that much detail. I just want us to understand some of the major biomes and use those as a model and use our lab as a model for how different pieces of the environment come together and interact and affect each other. So this biomes part 2, students will be able to explain how biomes are categorized, and students will give specific examples of biomes and sorry, that was black text on black, biomes and what events or what variables affect their categories. Okay, so what we have first, coldest northernmost one is tundra. Tundra is the has annual precipitation from 15 to 25 centimeters or 6 to 10 inches. It's found near the poles and mountaintops. It has a temperature from 12 to negative 34 Celsius and from positive 54 to negative 30 Fahrenheit. With this extreme temperature, all the plants are well adapted to the sweeping winds and disturbances in the soil. Soil can be disturbed in a number of different ways. Often in the tundra, there is permafrost, and permafrost can turn uplift. Uplift is when there's water in the soil, and that water freezes and then pushes up, which can affect the plants, and which in turn will affect the animals as well. Moving a little bit farther south, a little bit warmer, we have coniferous forests. This has an annual percentage or precipitation range from 30 centimeters to 90 centimeters or 12 to 35 inches. It's found throughout the northern parts of North America and northern Eurasia. The temperature ranges from positive 10 degrees Celsius to negative 40 Celsius and from positive 50 to negative 40 Fahrenheit. With this next band in environment and temperatures, we see that the coniferous forest has trees that produce cones and needles, coniferous or evergreen trees. Some of the needles are going to stay on the tree all year long. So we see a lot of evergreen trees here in Vancouver, Washington. We're not technically a part of coniferous forest, but we do have a lot of coniferous trees in our area. Next, we see the deciduous forest, which matches a little bit closer to our temperature range of positive 30 to negative 30 Celsius or positive 85 to negative 20 Fahrenheit. Precipitation is from 75 to 150 centimeters of moisture or 30 to 60 inches of water. This is primarily located in the eastern United States, eastern Canada, all of Europe, China, much of China, and Japan. You'll notice that Japan, China, Europe, eastern United States, that is a huge percent of the human population. So a lot of history and a lot of early science talks about this as a constant worldwide phenomenon. Deciduous forests are not worldwide. They are only for this certain band, but it's also a band that has a lot of human population. So we will hear about it a lot in stories. So this band, this biome of deciduous forest is notable because it goes through the 4 seasons: winter, spring, summer, and fall, where the leaves change in the autumn or the fall and fall off the trees in the winter and then grow back in the spring, which allows the plants to survive the harsh winters and still capture all the energy in the summer. So like I said, Vancouver, Washington doesn't have technically the same four-season cycle that places like Boston or China or Europe would have. Okay, well, we have something slightly different than this, but it does happen, and it is an important part of our science to understand. Okay, interestingly, a look closer to home is actually rainforests. Tropical rainforests typically range from 25 to 20 degrees Celsius and from positive 80 to positive 70 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, these tropical rainforests can range from 200 to 1,000 centimeters of rain, or 80 to 400 inches of rain. And they're normally located between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. Tropical rainforests are found closer to the equator, but in the state of Washington, we'll actually see temperate rainforests, which are found in the north near the coastal areas. Okay, one of those temperate rainforests we can look at as an example, and that is the Hoh rainforest. Okay, it has a number of different names, but if we're looking at the National Park Service website and their information, I'm going to use their naming. The Park Service also tells me that this specific temperate rainforest ranges from positive 20 degrees Celsius to negative 20 degrees Celsius, or from 70 Fahrenheit to 0 Fahrenheit. Okay, and this rainforest also ranges from 350 centimeters to 450 centimeters of precipitation, which is the same as 140 to 170 inches of rain. It is located in western Washington. It has a lush forest with large trees and numerous animals. So now if we look at the map of Washington State, we see this pink and purple zone right in the heart of the Olympic Peninsula there. And that is where those rainforests exist. What we see, dark purple is 140 inches plus of rain, and the bright purple is the above 180 inches of rain. So that creates a small little section of rainforest. And then we see tiny pockets out east of Seattle that also have tiny pockets of enough rain to sustain a rainforest. They're so small, they have a very different, or not very different, but they kind of have an island effect of their evolutions. So if Washington State is very unique, because if we look, if wind is blowing off the ocean on the west and blowing east, it is taking all the moisture from the Pacific Ocean and carrying it in the clouds across the Olympic Peninsula. When that Olympic range, those mountains, encounter the clouds, and the clouds will drop a lot of their rain on one side of the mountain, and then on the other side of the mountain there's no more rain left, and they get a rain shadow where it's dry. So we see that in the very northern tip of the Olympic Peninsula. We see a rain shadow up there, okay, about Port Angeles and Port Townsend is, and Sequim is up there, okay. That is a rain shadow on the opposite side of the rainforest. And if we look at the Cascade Mountains, we also get a huge rainy section, okay, and then we get the rain shadow on the far end, okay, which is going to give us many different biomes across the state of Washington. Okay, if we're looking at Vancouver, Washington, we're down at the very bottom of this green area, okay, where we get forests. And then we can look at what kind of forests and what kind of vegetation we have. And based on the University of Washington's analysis, we see that vegetation is coming up, and it is looking like, so there's some of it sounds like they're describing areas as well as the type of plants that are occurring. So subalpine fir might be present, okay? Some of the other plants are coming through there. So what we see is you can take biomes and keep cutting them into smaller areas based on their geography and the moisture and the environment, the weather conditions in that climate. All right, and I'm going to take a pause here, and we're going to switch videos to talk about our germination. So this was just a summary of the Biomes project.